Hi there, it's Rob here from the Gym Tin. I hope you're well. Welcome to this mobility method class with me. Today we are going to be looking at ankles, and we're specifically those people who take a lot of impact on their ankles. Why? It could be running, it could be cycling, it could be sports specific as well for you. So we're going to be looking a lot about what dorsiflexion is, about how does our ankle flex, how do we plan to flex through our movement as well. And we're going to be looking at our movement today. For this class, you're going to need a stool or a chair to be able to put your foot up onto. So we're going to be working on some flexion through that ankle. And we're going to be working medially and we're going to be working a bit laterally. Now, if your platform is too small, what will happen is it will start to tilt. So make sure you've got something that's appropriate for you. Now, the other thing you'll need will be a hand towel or a bath towel. What you're going to do is you're going to fold this towel up on its long end and wrap it around. And then once you get into that position, you're going to strap, you're going to turn and roll it up so you get a nice thin plane. And the idea is that we're going to place that over the bridge of your foot to be able to create some tension. However, if you have got something like this, which is a resistance band, these are absolutely brilliant. You'll be able to put your foot over the top of this and be able to strap down to it, talus, pulling out the back behind it, which will give you a bit more torque on the front and the top end of your foot. So really important. Okay, so let's find a space. As always, grab yourself a pint of water, close the doors, let people know you take part in a training session. Let's see if we can improve your flexibility. Cheers. Take a sip, lick it around your lips and hydrate. Okay, from here, we're just going to rotate on the spot. And I want you to feel what happens to your feet. Your feet want to be a fist gap apart as you rock and rotate around. You want to immediately rotate your feet in so your big toes are slightly turned in. Now, as you're doing this rock in this roll, can you keep your big toe to your little toes flat down to the floor? They're clawing into the ground. If you can't, don't go as far around on your rotation, okay? So here, rotate. Now, you might find that naturally your feet will want to turn out into that position. Resist it by turning in. Get your ankle mobility working here. You want to be able to feel the whole sensation in your foot. Now, at this stage, you're already feeling rock and roll, supination, pronation through your foot. My advice to you is get seeing a sports therapist or a physiotherapist, chiropractor, an osteopath, whichever you choose to go and see, because you've got some problems there, you've got some imbalance. And we can help you. That's the whole idea. Now, from here, let's go over to our calf raises. So we're trying to feel big toe to little toe flat down to the floor. Again, if you're feeling the rock out, rock inwards, I want you to try and get it nice and square and straight. So you're fully engaging your calf muscles. Your hands are back, resting on top of your pelvis, and you're lifting up nice and slow and controlled. Then we're going to lift our chest up nice and high, retract our shoulder blades back into position, and again, feel that lift. Strong, controlled. 8 more here. 7, can you go higher? 6. And as you get to that top point, do you go off balance? Do you rock out of it? Keep your posture. 2 more here. Last one. And release. Shake it out. Step back into a back lunge and see if you can keep your momentum here. So you're just going to push back and forward. Now, what I want you to try and do is rock and feel that you're pushing and plantering off each foot. Now, as you're doing this, do you go off balance? Do you feel like you push through the second metatarsal? Do you feel like you're pushing off one way or the other? Are you rolling side to side? Are you going straight? Check it. Now, as you're working here, again, the feet are still that fist gap apart. And we're rocking over the top of the foot here. We're powering off that back foot to get height. So it's not just about what happens in the ankle itself. Remember that the foot and the ankle composition is 28 bones with 32 joints. We've got to try and work all the way through in a plane movement here. So you're rocking forward and backwards all the way through the ball of the foot, rocking through onto the bridge of the foot as you roll over the top. Can we change legs? We're going to do the same thing. Can you work through that movement? Now, you might find that this feels different from one foot to the other. You might find that this one maybe pronates a bit more, maybe supinates a bit more, turns up or turns down. You want to try and get that range, push up and through. So a lot of runners, they kind of amble here. And I want you to feel that you can push up and pronate. And as you do this, you lift your rib cage. As you do this, your sternum lifts up towards the ceiling, up towards the sky, wherever you are, running indoors or outdoors. As you're doing it, you're lifting your rib cage. Your intercostal muscles have got to work harder. Your external, internal obliques, your external, internal intercostals as well, have all got to work more powerfully and more upright here. Remember that the bigger we can make the rib cage, the more we can lift the chest, the more that we can improve our oxygen consumption. We can breathe deeper. We can increase our VO2 max. We can increase our metabolic equivalents. Our METs, your METs. And again, at this stage here, you should be still feeling big toe, little toe, flat down. You should be feeling this movement rocking up and forward. If you find this is too much on the bridge of your foot because it's a hard floor, get yourself a big, thick mat and do it on there. Rock forward, rock back. Rock forward, rock back. One more here. Looking good. Okay, so now we're going to bring the block into the game. So you're going to bring your chair in, whichever you're going to work in here. Okay, so from here, what I want you to do is you're going to place your foot on top of your block. And we're going to see just how much movement we can generate into here. Forward and back. Change legs and just see where we are here. So, and you can see on here, I've had ankle surgery recently. And so at the point where I'm really pushing through the knee, I'm actually quite pleased by that because my knee only used to have go to there. So it's now getting to here, so I'm quite pleased with that. You're going to find there'll be a point where your heel will want to come off the mat. And that's the point I want you to really think, drive that down. Now, if you can get your knee into the block, then bring your foot back slightly further and try and keep that pronation of that knee going over the tiptoe here. You might be finding your hip flexors getting a bit taut, and if you are, just lean back into it. Feel your groin extend into it. And release. We're now going to assess the flexibility of your ankles. So to do that, you're going to come up to a wall. You want to be able to put your foot up against the skirting board, and you're going to make a thumb and fist, like so. So, into here, we're going to come down into position, and we're going to measure out that finger, that thumb and the fist to the wall here. Now, allow yourself to come forward the width of your skirting board as well. And you're going to track your foot heel down to the floor and see how far your knee is away from the wall. So at the moment, I'm comfortably 5 fingers away on my left. This is the ankle I've recently had surgery. So we're now going to check against the other foot. Again, we're going to make that fist and thumb and place that away from the skirting board. Okay, we're going to measure that to the big toe. We're going to make sure our knee tracks the big toe here, and we're going to measure how many fingers that is away. So at the moment, that's a good 4 fingers away from the wall. So 5 and 4 is my left against my right. I need to work on my flexibility of my calves. So that's what we're going to work on now. So our next move, we're going to take our foot on top of the block, and then bring, or your chair, whatever you're using. Now your back knee needs to be able to flex. So if you've got it right beside your chair, you're going to knock into your couch. So whatever you're using. So bring it to the side. So using a chair is quite good. From here, you can use that towel. And if you are using a towel, make sure your calcaneus, basically your heel, is off the end of the platform. You'll then be able to pull down onto the talus, which is the bone where the tibia and the fibula of your shins join in. Okay, and they rock to allow that movement. So from here, we can grasp the towel and push down into it and grip it. Now, using my hand on top of my thigh, I'm going to allow that knee to rock forward and back. Now to the point where I can feel some shortening in the back of the calf. I'm not going to push it any further than that. You might find you get a bit more push if you use your thumbs, dig into the towel, so you're not actually pushing into the bone itself, because that just gets really uncomfortable. But see if you can allow yourself to rock forward into it, and you might be able to use your chest pressure to push down into the thigh to create a bit more flexion. You can see now that I'm getting my knee to go beyond the toe, which is good. We want to get as much dorsiflexion into here. The key element as well, though, is that this back of the heel is staying flat down into the couch. Use your pressure in your body weight to drop yourself down into it to increase that mobility of your ankle. Now, keep working it here. I'm going to show you from square on. And now for me to get that lunge into it and taking my back leg behind me to be able to get a bit more flexibility into it. Now, pushing onto my thigh, I can get a bit more range. Now, the next part is looking at what happens when we medially work and we laterally work. So when I'm medially working, I'm bringing my knee back into the midline of my body. So that's the midline of my body, and I'm going to be pushing it inwards towards there. When I'm working laterally, that's the midline of the body. My knee is coming away from me. So as I'm working through my flexion here, I've got my chest lifted high. I'm going to shimmy my foot back just slightly because I'm increasing my range here. We're going to push laterally, and we're going to work 6 here. And we're going to come back into the midpoint. And then get laterally on here. Now, feel free to get a bit frisky on this one, so you can push a little bit harder if you wish to, but as always, keep it safe, relevant, and effective for you. Once you've done 6, you're going to come back into that midpoint again, and then come out laterally again. And again, see if you can keep that talus pushed down into it as you're rocking through. And again, if you've got that strap, one of those big dyno bands, you'll be able to get some torsion onto it to be able to pull through. If you haven't, just keep rocking through, applying the pressure through your chest, through the thigh to keep that movement. Importantly, that heel is staying wedged into the ground, into that block, working through that movement. Turn again. Just gets a bit stiffer. And on this lateral point as well, you might find your foot wants to supinate here. Keep it pressed down and work that knee out laterally as well. And release. Shake it out and go for a walk around. Feel how much more movement you've got in the ankle and how your body's moving. Grab yourself a drink of water because you're getting a bit tired on that. Cheers. Let's swap it. They're going to bring the right foot up onto the platform. And again, we're trying to keep that toe to heel flat down onto the block. So let's work it through again. And again, work the level for you. It could be that you've taken the strap and you've placed it over the ankle and you've wedged that down to the ground. It could be that you're using a long towel and putting it down, wedging, and you feel the little dimples here in the ankle where the talus, the trochlear surface of that talus sits. So can you get a bit of movement into it? You might find you don't need that because you can get enough power right into that talus. But if you can press into it, you'll be able to allow the talus to slide back as the shin is driving forward. And you'll increase the flexibility further through that soleus and gastron. Let's come out lateral. Medial. Back into that front plank. Lateral again. And I can feel as I go into the medial aspect of this, that little turning force through the calf. I can feel that point of resistance. Come back into that midpoint again. Turn it back in again. And again, use that power of your body to get that movement into it. It's tough work. Are you keeping that heel ground to the floor? You might be feeling the muscles underneath the ball of the foot now are starting to have to work even harder. And let's release that there. Shake it out. Good stuff. Now, at this point, you're probably starting to feel various things into your quadriceps, starting to feel tight, and probably your hip flexors. So this is where we now take the towel and sit onto the couch behind us. Just give us a bit of padding. Okay, we're going to take our right knee on top of the step. Feel the position here. And this is where a cube is quite good. So for me, that height is just a bit too steep. So that's where I need to be. I'm going to put through on my towel there. Okay. And all I'm going to do is lengthen my body. You feel a lovely big extension through here, through the hip flexors, the psoas major, minor, and what's happening in that rec fem as well, top of the quadriceps. Remember the quadriceps, there's 4 muscles in here, but the rectus femoris is the one that crosses the hip joint to allow some hip flexion. So again, we're going to step forward, drive your pelvis forward, bring your shoulders back. And the way to feel what happens in the back foot here is a big toe, little toe, flat down into the couch, or are you turning one way or the other? Can you keep yourself nice and straight? Can you take a further stride forward? Keep your shoulders back, chest lifted, feeling what's happening in the hip flexor. So we've released so much off from the ankle movement we've done, but it's kind of pointless just working ankle movement on its own. You need to think about what's happening in the quadriceps and in the hip, and also the underside of the foot. So we have literally worked from the toe all the way through. I would suggest, even on this exercise here, we're getting some lengthening kinetic chain movement out through the top of the rib cage as well. And it's really, really important. And release. Good stuff. So if you go and see a therapist and they're working, you're going with a shoulder problem, and all they do is work on your shoulder, that's great. But what about the rest of the kinetic chain? How's the rest of that affecting you? If you're not getting results out of that and you're still seeing the same therapist and they keep just battering the same shoulder for you, maybe change the theory slightly and work a different area of the body and just see what else is in there. Because the victim is your shoulder and it's the one that's screaming at you. But the culprit could be something in your back, or who knows, your ears, your wrists, your feet. It could be anywhere else. So just think a little bit more broader. And that's what I'm getting you to do. This exercise here is to, instead of just thinking that your calf flexibility might be your problem, but as I can feel now, I am getting way more flexibility in my ankle as I release off my hip flexor in my left. So my right ankle is now feeling more flexible as my left hip flexor is finding that length. If I push down, big toe, little toe down into the mat, I can get a little bit more range. I might be able to even step forward just slightly. And again, I'm making sure that whichever way my foot is pointing, my femur and my knee is facing the same direction. So I'm getting as much stride through here as possible. And from there, let's release that out. Shake it out. From there, let's take our feet a fist gap apart. And let's just rock down through into a hamstring hold and stretch. Drop your chin down on your chest and a nice big stretch all the way through the back of your legs. Now I want you to fold your arms, point your elbows down to the ground for that stretch increase. From there we unfold, should feel a big change in your flexibility. So let's test it. Let's see what happens, shall we? So we're going to make that thumb position again. We're going to make that measurement here between the thumb and the skirting board. We're going to allow ourselves to adjust just slightly for the depth of the width of the skirting board. We're going to make sure that the heel stays ground to the floor, and we're going to remeasure. So here on my left foot, I was comfortably here, and now I'm 4 fingers away from that. So I'm quite pleased with that, and my knee is now protracting over my toe. And I want to make sure as well that the patella, as it's coming forward, is tracking over the second toe here. So as you're flexing, you're not medial laterally rotating, that knee goes forward. Let's check the other foot. Let's see what happened. Let's see if we made any progress there. So again, we're going to measure that point, come forward slightly for the width of the skirting board. And my goodness, yeah. So I was 4 fingers away before, and now I'm comfortably into 3, maybe even 2 fingers away from that now. So a big change in the calf flexibility. So practice. Do a lot of running, really important, and we keep the ankles nice and flexible. We're working internally, so medially and laterally as the foot rolls and moves. We're looking at, as we worked at in the warm-up there, plantar flexing forward and back. We're working on that stride pattern, pushing up and plane, rather than pushing out laterally or medially, supinating and pronating. So we're trying to keep everything in our favor, going linear and strong and powerful here, rather than laterally and rolling, which is wasted of energy. Lots and lots of information there. If you did a live, hashtag live. If you did replay, hashtag replay. Let me know how you got on with it. As always, if I can help you, please do get in contact here to help you get the best out of your fitness, as always. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your energy and how you put into that today. Really, really good stuff. Let me know how you got on. I'll see you next time for the next one. Well trained. Grab yourself your water, hydrate well. Cheers. I'll see you next time for the next one.